Hello, myself Mayuri, and today I am going to present the assignment includes detail about the two companies, that is Coca-Cola Amatil and BHP Billiton. The Coca-Cola Amatil is an Australian-based beverage company that provides different soft drinks and healthy drinks to youngsters. BHP Billiton is a multinational company that deals in mining, metals and petroleum that has its headquarters in Melbourne, Australia. 3 years annual report of both these companies have been analyzed so that the liability, assets and source of funds can be reviewed and comparisons can be drawn. The assignment also states detail about the provisions that is used by the company for contingent liability and assets. In this slide shows the different source of funds that is used by the company. Source of funds used by the Coca-Cola Amatil. The funding source of the Coca-Cola Amatil comprise of bonds, commercial paper and revolving credit facility. Bonds. This is a kind of source of funds that are used by the Coca-Cola Amatil to borrow money from investors. Bonds are unit of corporate debts that are issued by the company as a tradable assets. Commercial paper. This instrument is used by the company as a short-term debt instrument so that they can finance account payable, inventories and they can meet short-term liabilities. This is a generally issued a discount by the company. Revolving credit facility. This credit facility issued by the company so that they can arrange a line of credit between the bank and business. This kind of the credit facility is used by Coca-Cola Amatil for various operating activities. BHP obtained its fund through the use of the various external sources such as debt finance, debt funding through external markets, the market business and assets receives the proceed through sales of product to customers. Now the equity shares. This is a kind of source of fund that is used by the company to raise fund for long-term purposes. This method is chosen by the company as a dividend paid to be this shareholder are not fixed. They are referred to as a residual owners. Now the treasury shares. This is another safe method that is presently used by the company to raise funds. Under this financing method, funds are raised through buying back of shares by the issuing company, which helps in reducing the number of shares outstanding in the market. These treasury shares that are bought by the company can be cancelled from can be reissued by the company. Through a detailed analysis of annual report of the company, it has been determined that in the past 3 years, company has been changed to debt financing. Debt financing means raising funds through sales of bonds, bills or notes to an individual of an institutional investor. This slide depicts about various merits and demerits of sources of funds that are used by the Coca-Cola Amatils and BHP Billiton. Bonds, it provides safety of principal and results in income in form of interest. The main disadvantage of bonds is that it result in high rate of interest. Commercial paper, quick and cost effective. Credit availability from banks can be reduced. Equity shares, liquid in nature and they can be easily sold in the market. Obligations for payment of dividend. In these slides, the different kinds of liability shown in the balance sheet of Coca-Cola Amatil and BHP. Trade and other payables which can be defined as total amount which is paid by a business for goods acquired or serviced hired as a portions of business activities of operations. Short-term provisions can be defined as an amount that is put in aside in accounts of an individual to cover a futuristic liability or an obligation. Current tax payable can be defined as a debt of tax paid by a person, company or another enterprise to taxation authority. Borrowing can be defined as money taken from a financial institution or an individual in form of loan or advance. Loan from related parties display bearing cost of unpaid loan costs due to related parties on the date of balance sheet. The liability that contain interest are the liabilities on which interest is paid. For examples, like short-term and long-term borrowings, and liability that are non-interesting bearing refers to certain type of liabilities on which interest is not levied. For example, trade payables and short-term provisions. This slide includes the key provisions about AASB 137 that includes contingent liability and assets. This standards is applicable to each of an enterprises that is essential to make financial reports as per Corporations Act, and also that entity is reporting entity. For general purpose, financial statement of each of the reporting entity is used. Moreover, the standard is not applied to financial tools that fall within a scenario of ASB 9 financial instruments. Executory contracts are contracts under this standard that can be defined as under the party which has neither performed any of its duties or both of parties have partially performed their duties to an equivalent scenario. This standard is not applicable to executory contract until they are binding. This standard describes provisions as liability of an undefinite timing or amount. In some of economics concept, provision is also applied in context of items, for example, depreciation, impairment of assets, and doubtful debts. These are certain kind of changes that are levied bearing amount of assets and are not treated in these standards. This slide depicts that annual reports of both the companies includes a provision of AASB 137. Annual account of BHP Plex states that the contingent liability is a possible duty occurring from past situation and whose presence shall be confirmed only by incurrence and non-incurrence. Similarly stated in annual report of Coca-Cola Amatil. This slide includes different types of assets that are recorded in annual reports of both the companies. The first is the cash and cash equivalents. This involves demand deposit, liquid investment, etc. This can be measured on the basis of fair value or amortization cost. The second is the trade receivables. These are such amounts that are owed by customers and entity for products and services. These are reported according to the net realizable value, which is a fair value. Another one is the inventories. These are a product that sells to customers. This includes cost associated with purchase, conversion cost, and other costs related to inventories. The non-current assets includes the investment for property. This is the property which is developed to earn rental income. This can be reported according to the fair value or cost method. The other one is the intangible assets. This involves the patents, trademarks, license, etc. They are measured only on the basis of cost model. The last one is the deferred assets. Methods through which assets are measured are shown in these slides. BHP uses historical cost principle as a criterion of measurement. Non-current assets are measured at either lower of carrying amount or fair value less cost to dispose. And these are all the references. Thank you.